And away we go.
Killer Combo!
You are listening to the Freelancer Codex, a podcast brought to you by the Shut Up and Respawn Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 152 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. The longest running used to be Anthem podcast, but now carried on by two of the hosts because we like talking about video games and stuff, and we've been doing it for so long that it's kind of a habit, so we're not going to stop now. And today, for episode 152, 152. I went back in time. We're joined by Wade of Mulehorn Gaming. Wade, thank you for joining us again. Your second appearance on the Freelancer Codex. How are you today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, brother.
How is that spaceship, the Mulehorn Gaming, going? Are you guys keeping that thing flying straight, flying true?
We're trying. We have lots of large explosions always happening, of course, and playing the crap out of like 20 different video games, and now expanding into TikTok and all this other crazy stuff.
Are you dancing on TikTok? Is that what the content we can expect from Mulehorn Gaming over there?
I have not done the mule truffle shuffle, no. So I don't think anybody, dad bods are in, but I don't think anybody would want to see that.
Fair enough. I mean, soon if you hit enough followers, the truffle shuffle will be there. So, Wade, thanks for hanging out with us. We've got lots to talk about. It is December 16th, so we are close to the holiday season. So I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is staying safe, that you are healthy, that you are trying to keep everyone healthy around you, and that you can enjoy time with the family, or you can enjoy time alone, or if you hate your family, then you don't have to see them either. So we hope you can do all of those things that make you happy on the holiday seasons. All right, before we get started, before we talk about Star Wars, because I know Wade is champing at the bit to talk about a little green man and a light sword. So before we do that, we've got a lot of things to cover. We'd like to say thank you to all of our patrons. We want to say thank you to Julius, Nathan B, Michael R, Trent B, Man and Steel, Scout69, Dragonheart76, Jeffrey H, Gameplay Experience, RZ, and Phaedron. Thank you so much for all of your continued support. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. So. And with that, I think we should jump into things that we have been doing because we've got a lot to cover. Wade, you are our guest. Would you like to tell us what things you've been doing this week, video game-wise, or really whatever you're doing? It doesn't have to be video games. If you're crocheting, if you're knitting, if you're starting a book club, you can tell us all about it.
I've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk, like probably most people that are playing video games right now. I've been playing a lot of that, jumping back into Apex a little bit because I miss playing like a battle royale type style game, and I liked Warzone, but I've never been a big fan of it. Like just because there's a lot of like hokey things about it that I don't like. But Apex has been kind of tickling my jimmies for that. I've started rewatching Rebels with the wifey because she it's funny. She was making fun of me the other day. She's like, "What have you done to me? You've turned me into like a Star Wars nerd." Because the other day she was looking at stuff for Christmas, and she was like, she stopped and she goes, "Wait, is this considered canon?" And then she was like, "What did you do to me?" So
was she not a Star Wars fan before, or just kind of knew of Star Wars but just not that depth?
Yeah, she always liked Star Wars. It's just she never dove into the really deep expanded stories of like Clone Wars and Rebels and things like that. And she watched the Clone Wars with our boys because they love the animated series, and she decided to watch Rebels with us, and she's watched it all the way through. We're on the final season, and I think she really enjoys it. She's really connected with some of the characters. Kanan, she really likes Chopper. She thinks he's funny. Of course, Ahsoka. She loves Ahsoka. And she's like, "Thrawn, he's so bad. He's so bad." So she really likes that. But yeah, I've been doing that. I celebrated turning the big 4-0 recently this week.
Oh man! Happy birthday! How's the other side of that hill? How's it look over there?
Man, first time in my life I've ever actually started taking supplements and didn't think I'd ever need them. And I started taking them, been taking them about 2 weeks. I'm like, gosh, these make me feel so much better.
So I should just start early?
These at 20.
Yeah, we should just start early. Is that what you're saying?
You should. I really didn't feel a difference till I hit about 37. But now that I hit about 37, I started really feeling the difference. And I stopped drinking coffee. I drink like this keto clean energy drink now, and it makes a huge difference for me. And then I take like krill oil and some other stuff for immune boosters and stuff like that, and I feel young again.
Nice, man.
You know,
Yeah.
I always think it's funny when people like get a year older and they're like, "Oh, I'm so old," and you're like, "I don't know, it's like just another year, right?" I guess
Yeah.
if you have bad knees, it's probably a little rough as you get older, but
That's the only thing for me. It's like all the old sports injuries that I had that I just played through when I was in high school and college that now I'm like, why did I do that? Because like my ankles are like jello now.
yeah.
I have like no ligaments left in them from all the years of basketball. And it's
I
just
need some ligaments.
Did you
my
play
wife makes fun of me because I wear Crocs everywhere, you know.
we decided not to mention the Crocs on the show just because we have a no Crocs policy on the Freelancer Codex. But did you play college ball?
For a little bit, yeah. 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 I went to a small little NAIA college called LCU, and then I transferred to Texas Tech right when Bobby Knight got there. And
Sweet.
you know, 6 foot, a buck 85, super quick, left-handed, got a 3 ball. And my dad was really mad that I didn't try to walk on for Bobby Knight because he's like, he loves left-handed shooters. I just couldn't do it anymore, man. It was not the same as it was for me in high school. It was more of a job, and I was like, I just want to have fun, you know. So
That's
yeah,
pretty intense. College ball at that level's got to be pretty intense. So, and really, like, is there any place for a Star Wars nerd on a college basketball team? That's the real
you know,
question.
I was like Clark Kent. No one knew.
Were you a closet nerd your whole life? You just didn't want to tell people?
I found very few people that kind of were on the level of nerddom as me. Like my wife even will say, I didn't realize how big of a nerd you were. Um, because you know, I'm not like a prototypical nerd that, you know, oh, you're a guy that sits in the basement and doesn't do it. You know, I was kind of a jock, and I loved watching movies, and I loved playing video games. I loved playing board games, and you know, just any kind of competitive game, yeah, I could play, you know. And there just wasn't, usually in that arena there wasn't a lot of people like that. Now video games now is more normal for the jocks, you know, but back when I was playing back in the day,
It's like,
it
you're
wasn't
doing
as
what?
normal.
Yeah, you can't be playing
Yeah.
these games. And I guess that's, you know, very similar right now with people that enjoy Star Wars. Like, Star Wars is so mainstream now that you don't have to be that dork that knew what a T-65 was. Now everyone's like, "What? You got the Mando shirt?" Everyone loves the Mando shirt. So, very cool. So, rewatching Rebels, playing Cyberpunk. Anything else you want to chat about before we get in? Because I guess when we get to my section, we can talk about our experience with Cyberpunk. Because I know, Mike, you have not
Yeah.
dove in yet because I've told you not to dive in yet. What have you been doing instead of Cyberpunk?
So for Mike's, because that was a terrible
You've been
beginning to
learning
what was
English.
going to be a very simple answer. Pardon me. The Dawning dropped in Destiny, so we've been playing a lot of that, baking a lot of cookies, handing out a lot of gifts, seeing all the bright, flashy colors, and getting lost in all of the what to do, when to do, where to do, and how to do it kind of stuff that I usually get lost in when I play Destiny because there's just so much going on. And I expect things to be like really simple where you click a button and it says, do this, go here. But instead it says, have fun playing the game. And I'm like, I don't want to have fun playing the game. I want to accomplish this task that you've given me. So there's that. But then really just schoolwork with the kiddos. We're winding down our semester for school, so I'm furiously, frivolously. There's a word that starts with F that means like doing it quickly, and but I don't
Feverishly?
remember what feverishly.
That could be one.
I don't have a fever while I do
Fast
it.
is a word.
Fast is a word, but I think it ends in ishly. Anyway,
Fastishly?
fastishly. Anyway, so just getting ready for the semester to end, helping kiddos finish assignments, helping my own personal kiddos get their semester done and under their belt in a good way, and then making sure that my students have all of their assignments in, you know, grading stuff and helping them to remember that they have content that they need to accomplish and they have things that they need to do to get done in my class. And so you know, trying to keep the house up and trying to keep everybody alive and safe and well and making dinner. I have recently, and this, I don't know if you wanted all of this information, but I
Give it
have
to us.
recently, because okay, we're gonna have to back up and do just a slight little bit of backstory.
Oh, good. It's like
My
Doofenshmirtz backstory.
It kind of is. It's not really Doofenshmirtz's backstory. Mine is very easy. My wife has a position. We're both in the school district, but she is a very high level admin, and I am not. So a lot of the other duties that we would normally share, I take on as part of the kind of the way that our house runs. So I have been recently learning how to cook. Just with ideas that I have of things that I want to eat and trying out recipes and stuff. Last night I made homemade chicken and dumplings. I didn't home make the chicken because that would be weird.
It wouldn't be that
but
weird. I mean, some people home make chicken. They grow
Some
chickens.
people home make chickens. I don't. But I made homemade dumplings and it actually worked and everybody liked it and they enjoyed the meal. So that was kind of a pat myself on the back kind of thing because it was the first time I tried it.
Well done.
And it turned out really well. And there weren't any leftovers. And I think that's the biggest indicator that you've made a good meal is that there aren't any leftovers.
Especially when
So
you
I was
got picky kids. Well done.
Unless you have 4
Exactly.
kids, then you never have leftovers.
Well, there have been some meals that I have tried where that's all I've had left was leftovers. So
And then
So
you
that
just buy a
wasn't good.
pizza.
yeah, and so it was good. So I've been teaching myself how to cook, learning how to cook. I haven't done anything like too crazy. I cook Cornish game hen. I do pork tenderloin. I did chicken and dumplings. I made fried rice the other night with a teriyaki chicken combo kind of thing. So it was pretty good. So I'm pretty proud of myself that that's something that I'm at least able to learn during this time. So,
You could get the Destiny cookbook and cook from the Destiny cookbook.
I did not know there was one.
There is a Destiny cookbook.
I believe you. I believe you.
What kind of dishes would you guess were inside the Destiny cookbook?
Cade's,
Glimmer.
Yeah, Cade's crumbly chicken. I don't know.
Cade's crumbly chicken. So, okay,
Yeah.
this is a drink. They have a coleslaw. It's just called coleslaw? They didn't give it. Okay, so here are some cookies. This is pretty good. These are called the Gallardoodles. They're like Snickerdoodles, but they're Gallardoodles. So you can make the Gallardoodle cookie. You can make the spicy ramen. Of course, you can make the spicy ramen, and you can make
Wait a
the
second.
Reveler's
Wait a
Taco.
second. If they're just regular cookies, but they just have funny names, does that really count?
So this is weird. So these cookies have a big old cashew right in the middle of them. So you couldn't make these.
I couldn't.
But yeah,
I wouldn't.
no, you couldn't. You would die.
That's just weird.
So
That's
all
just
right.
weird.
You have a Destiny cookbook. Maybe I'll put it on your Christmas list, and you can start making stuff from the Destiny universe, and you can report on that.
I could, or I could just stick with things that I know of.
It's true. Never branch out.
Yeah.
Just stick in your bubble. It's always a good way to live.
Well, I'm
Never
branching
adventure
out a little bit, but to cook from a cookbook, like
What
a
do you
video game
use
cookbook,
now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
make you.
don't know.
What else you got,
Anyway.
Mike? Is that all you got? Is that all you're doing? Is just
That's all.
cooking, keeping your family alive?
Just cooking, keeping my family alive, playing Destiny where I can. Sometimes I have to watch when I sit down because I get yelled at sometimes, but
You got
It happens.
Keep the CFO happy. That's for sure. All right.
you do have to keep the CFO happy. What have you been up to, Steve?
I will tell you. So right now I will use my time and we will talk about Cyberpunk because that is what I've been diving into, and Wade has been diving into it as well. So it's our chance to talk about Cyberpunk. I want to make a very important disclaimer at the beginning of the Cyberpunk talk that we're about to have, that a lot of opinions exist, and that's okay. A lot of people can have their opinions. A lot of things can be true at the same time. So just because one person is enjoying a game does not mean that they completely support every misstep and mishap that CD Projekt Red has made on their way to the release of Cyberpunk. I will start this by saying that I was never super stoked about the game. It's not a game that I watched all their media content on. It was just something that I knew was coming out. I knew it was big, so I was going to play it. So I had very little hype going into Cyberpunk 2077. I didn't watch any of their live streams knowing anything about the game and all the marketing stuff that they put out. So a lot of the things that people are talking about that aren't in the game, I didn't even realize were supposed to be in the game until I started doing some research and wondering why, the game released how it did. So that's what I'm going to say. If you are having a terrible experience, like, that is your experience and your experience is valid, ours will be as well. So we just want to make sure we're not like, there's been a lot of people just, if you say anything positive on the game, think that you're like shilling for the game because they don't want anyone to be having fun, I guess. I don't know. The internet's weird. Everyone knows about the internet. So my experience with Cyberpunk so far on my computer, since I'm playing it on the PC, I have had a okay experience. I think the game is interesting. As someone that has not been doing any research, not looking at it, like, I think it's an okay game. I don't think it's spectacular. Like, even if you were to remove all the bugs and all the problems that crop up, I think the game is still, just like, it's an okay RPG experience. It's definitely not the best RPG out there. CD Projekt Red has made one of the best, and there's a lot others out there. We can talk about BioWare, we can talk about Bethesda, we could talk about the Yakuza series and stuff like that, talking about RPGs. But and I hate that I feel like just because I have fun at sometimes, it's like, oh, you shouldn't be having fun playing this game because of all the problems it has. But I have been having an okay time playing the game. I chose the Corpo playthrough just because I thought that would be interesting. The way this game starts, I think there are some obvious content cuts that were made just because of how short the life paths are before they drop you into like the critical path of the game. So, Mike, if you are unaware, you get to pick between 3 different paths. There's Street Kid, there's a Corpo, and then there is a what's it called, Wade?
Nomad. Yep.
So you get to pick. Yeah, you get to pick one of those 3 and you start the game. Like, I went Corpro. That content lasted all maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then I was dropped into the beginning of the game. Fake says Nomad Life for the win. I don't know. I don't like the desert. I live in the desert, so I didn't want to start out in the desert. I figured I'd start in the big city. And it's this story that they tell is very disconnected in the beginning. You have this little thing. That little thing is supposed to, I think, be super important to your playthrough and to the overall campaign. Sometimes you do have dialogue choices that come into play, but I don't think that those dialogue choices would have really changed anything, even if you chose something different. But after you play through this short little section, it drops you into the beginning of the game, which shows you this montage of things that you do in the game, but you don't get to play that portion of the game. You just get to see you and another character doing cool things. And then it like drops you in after this weird time jump, which is a super weird way to tell this story. It's a way that I don't think it added anything to the game. It just made it feel like there was a lot of things that were either cut out or missed. Wade, did you kind of get that sense when playing through that, or was it?
I felt like it was like a purposeful mechanic to, because the way the story goes, you basically have this huge heist and things like that. I don't know how much spoilers you want to talk about, but yeah, you have this like huge heist that you try to pull off. So I think it was like an artificial way to speed up your credibility, I guess you could say, of like, hey, you're a dude that's on the streets that people know you and you get stuff done. So I felt like I wasn't necessarily missing anything other than them just trying to say like, okay, you're a BA mofo that was walking the streets and you're not just some guy that came fresh off the streets. Mm-hmm. So I think it was like an artificial way to give you a little credibility. It didn't feel like it took anything away, but it was kind of like, I kind of just felt like why didn't you just let me play it? Like,
right.
Like give me some shorter prologue stories rather than just here's a map with all the stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's the part that I kind of feel like took away from my experience of like, well, I should have done that stuff. Because one of the big things, like after going back and doing a lot of the research, like a lot of the marketing was like, you're going to make your place in Night City. You're going to show up that, hey, you're going to go from nothing to the big boss in Night City. And they kind of like took a little portion of that away from you. And even then, I still didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was that cool because you start out with not very much. So I was like, how can I be this cool if I don't even have like a pocket knife in my pocket? Anyway, so other than that, like I'm actually enjoyed the little portion of the critical path that I played. I played up into the act number 2, and then I kind of just branched off and started doing a bunch of the side stuff. Like some of that story is pretty cool, but it seems like all this stuff on the outside that I've kind of been exploring, and really because it is a CDPR game, like The Witcher 3 is known for having amazing side quests, like quests that'll just take you hours and hours to get through it. Sometimes, you know, they're even better than some of the main path content, right? So I think that was kind of like an expectation I had just because I had played The Witcher, and that just wasn't something that I have found yet. I mean, I'm still pretty early. I'm just kind of trying to take my time in there and just kind of explore a little more to see if I can find that. And maybe I will. I don't know, Wade, if you have found that doing the side content is more enjoyable than the critical path, or if you've enjoyed the critical path more.
I think it's meant like, because I've been trying to blaze through the story just because I wanted to finish the story, because I'm gonna play through it again eventually. Because I picked Nomad, Farm Kid makes sense, right? So I picked Nomad, and I'm kind of blazing through it, but I've slowed down because I didn't do very much in the prologue. But I've slowed down because I feel like the story is good and good enough to actually keep me engaged in the game. Because a little secret here, I didn't like The Witcher. I didn't like Red Dead. Just I couldn't finish them. They didn't keep my attention. I just couldn't do it. This game, I feel like the story is good enough and the setting is good enough that it's like future sci-fi enough that it kind of it's keeping me into it. But I found if I actually slow down and do the side missions from some of the main characters like Jackie and Pan Am and things like that, it's way better. It's way better because it actually gives it a little bit more body. So it'd be like looking at a stream compared to if you wanted to look at this gorgeous river, you know. So I would say if you're playing through the game right now, to slow down and take your time, do a lot of the main side quests, not necessarily all the little other gigs you can do, but like the actual main side quests, because it will add to the game a lot. Because it made some of the choices that I was experiencing and some of the things I was going through a lot better. You know, a little more weighty to it, you know, other than just like, oh, this crap has happened to me. Now what?
Yeah. And Fake in the chat says it's sacrilege that you didn't like Red Dead or The Witcher.
I can do it.
I think that's fine. Like I played halfway through The Witcher 3 and I thought I was like almost done with that game, and then I like looked up guides like, what? I'm like a quarter of the way done. I've been in here for 60 hours. How am I not done yet? And I think there is something to these games that just have these super massive like storylines where it seems so daunting, right? That oh man, like I'm not even done. I'm not even close. And luckily, like Cyberpunk is only about a 20-hour game if you critical path it. So it's something that you can complete in a normal run. It's not something you have to spend 100 hours in. So it's something that's doable. But especially like when you are creating content, we kind of have this need to rush through things so that you can talk about it. So you can say, hey, I've done this,
yep,
and now I can talk about it. But it kind of also kills the joy, I think, for games like this. Because it is more important to take your time, I think, just so you might be able to like find that little thing in a game like this that really connects with you. Because you know what? Like not all the storylines are going to connect with you. Like I think some of the storylines are kind of lame. I think some of the writing is particularly bad. So it's not like, hey, every part of this game I'm in love with. But I think it's important to like slow down and figure out, okay, you know, if you are liking the game, if you are going to continue playing it, like why are you? Like what's that thing that's bringing you in? Not just to say, hey, I completed this because I have a bet, but something to like, you know, say, hey, I am enjoying this game, and this is that reason. So I've tried to slow down in order to do that. Sometimes in Cyberpunk, it's like probably not best to slow down because then you kind of peel back the curtain and you see all the things that are wrong with it. So it's kind of like a two-edged sword with Cyberpunk. And like for you, you're playing on the original Xbox. I mean, and that
Yeah.
right now is like, from all accounts of the internet, it's not a good experience at all. I mean, talk to me about your
Yeah.
experience on the Xbox Series
So
X.
yeah,
Not the
Xbox
Series X, One X.
One
Yeah.
X, and it's like I played it at release, and that night I played about 3 to 4 hours, and it crashed on me 6 times, crashed to the dash, and I was like, oh great, and I was getting bugs where like I was driving through the city and it would like start stuttering and then just freeze and crash. Um, and then I played it the next day and streamed it on release day, on the official release day, I guess you could say. And I streamed for about 3.5 hours and I had 3 crashes. And I was like, okay, the story was good enough and the pacing was good enough to keep me interested, but the bugs was really breaking the immersion for me. And it wasn't just crashes. Like there was things where like I had one mission where I had just a person just disappear on me through like a wall and I had to restart the mission. And I've had a few times where I got stuck in a car and I couldn't get out of the car because it's like you're driving, and me driving is not great anyway, so I always crash. And so I find the stupidest ways to get stuck, you know. But they did finally have that patch that came out for Xbox, and I will say I did play another probably like 3 or 4 hours from the new patch, and I didn't have one crash. I did still have some, like the game was struggling or stuttering to load some zones and things like that. But other than that, it felt at least a little bit better. There were still some weird moments where I'd pull up and have no gun or something like that, or I would wait for like my dialogue to pop up so I could talk to a character and it wouldn't pop up for a little bit and it'd finally pop up. So those things were pretty annoying for me. And it upsetted me enough to like, I was like, man, am I going to finish this game? I don't know if I am, because I'm notorious for not finishing games. And but I feel like for me, like RPGs, you need a good balance of having the story paced well enough to keep you engaged so that you're still looting for cool loot, but you're still engaged with the story and you want to keep going. I feel like this game does that enough. I don't really feel like there's anything groundbreaking to the game other than it's a really cool setting. Like we haven't seen a setting like this before. But yeah, so I mean, if I were to have to like rate it based on what we have right now, I'd probably say it's probably a solid 7 for me right now. There's nothing that's like getting me just like going, oh my gosh, that was amazing. But it is fun and I'm having fun. So they've a mission accomplished there because I'm having fun.
Right.
But other than that, there's nothing that I would say that like you need to go out and buy this right now. I'd say, hey, it's a great game, pick it up. You may want to wait till they come out with a few more patches, but it's a great game, you know.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've told a couple of people that have asked me, like, hey, is it worth it? And I was like, well, what are you playing on? It's like, well, I've got one of the people that asked me, they have the Series X, and I was like, well, you know, it runs okay on the Series X, but maybe just wait a little bit until more patches come out, until the game gets better. I mean, they've already talked about future DLC coming out for free, but I don't even know when that's going to happen according to their timelines now. But it just seems like something that the game needed more time in the oven. It got pushed because of probably investor reasons. Like a lot of people are invested in the game. They needed to put it out. It's already been delayed so many times. And eventually you just have to put out the game when you have, you know, shareholders like pushing you to do that. So it just felt like it needed more time. And like you said, Wade, and this was kind of the thing that I've kind of been struggling with, like it doesn't do anything that different from everything else that we've played, right? There's only so many ways you can have a loot system. Like I don't think the loot system is particularly interesting to me, just because even like the first, 15 hours I put into the game, like none of the gear that I've picked up is in any way like coordinated to look like I do look like a bad A on the streets of Night City. I look like a clown picking up whatever
There
stuff
needs to be a
is out there.
transmog for sure.
And it just looks really bad. And one thing we always talk about weapons when we talk about, playing looters, when we start playing games, it's like it's always just pick up the next thing that makes the green arrow go up. It's never really like, pick up the cool thing that you want. It's all right, now let's just kind of go through these steps and then just, upgrade until you're at the end of the game, and then you can kind of finally find something that you like and something that that you want to stick with. But I don't know, the game for me, it's almost like half of me is playing the game just to see what that next bug is around the corner. Not like what's the next quest step around the corner. It's just like, what's the next bug that's going to make me laugh around the corner. Like every time I jump onto my motorcycle, because I love driving motorcycles around in games, like my character will T-pose on top of the motorcycle, on top of the gas tank, and my pants will disappear like 20 times as I drive down. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever, but I guess it's super cyberpunk, right? That's what everyone wants to do in the future, is drive down the street on a motorcycle with your pants off. So I guess it's very in line with what cyberpunk should be. So I have this weird relationship with the game where I'm enjoying it, but half of me feels like you shouldn't be enjoying this game because of all the issues that it has. And that's like something that I'm trying to figure out. Like I keep going back and Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red, they're getting their, they know what's wrong with the game. The internet's blasting them for it. People are calling for boycotts. The internet's doing the internet thing. And I think back to games like, Mass Effect Andromeda that did not have near as many bugs as Cyberpunk 2077 does, right? And I'm like thinking back of like what the internet discourse was then towards BioWare and towards that game. And I think of things like, Fallout 76, things like Anthem, and just all these releases that, and I keep asking myself, it's like, why does this keep happening? Like, why do we keep releasing these games in, these early access states, and we keep paying for them? Like, is it because we're just all pre-ordering them? Is it because of the hype machine? Because we all have to be playing the same game so we don't lose out on that conversation? Like, why do we keep pushing ourselves to pre-order these games, not knowing, if they're going to be good games at release? I mean, like, what's...
No.
Why do we keep doing it?
But then the other side of that is why do studios, again, why did it get released, right? Why did it get released in that state? So who's to blame there? Or are we all just paying for a beta?
And you know what?
I definitely think it was the investors. The investors pushed it probably to get their money back and their investment back, because it had been delayed so much. They're like, hey, you need to put it out. And so I don't think like the developers in the studio probably had much choice other than to do what the people that fund them tell them to do. I think, and I feel bad for the devs because I know that they probably have like a quality standard they want to live up to, because everyone thinks CD Projekt Red, they make fantastic games with no bugs, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think there's any way they could have lived up to those expectations because of the delays. Everyone's like, it better be a perfect game, and it's like, there are no perfect games. There's like, and the fact that I think, to go back to your point, Steve, I think, now that we live in a era where a game doesn't have to be shippable in the sense of, here's your cartridge, it's done. It lends to have things pushed more quickly. Things get put in a marketing machine where they get shared too early. So that even puts even more pressure on people. And so I think that's why we get a few games that are just kind of, 3/4 the way baked, and they need maybe an extra 5-6 months because you've already started the marketing machine. Now you can't go back on it. Then you'll have a No Man's Sky, and it'll take them 2 years just to get to where people are appreciating the game now,
Yeah. Fake in the chat says Witcher 3 and Skyrim probably had just as bad of a start as Cyberpunk, and look at them now. And that is a good point, that if a studio is dedicated to winning back that goodwill, they'll put in the work. CD Projekt Red has enough people that they could do that. And I guess it also makes me think more highly of Phil Spencer. I know that's a dumb thing to say because like Phil Spencer is like the superhero of video games right now. And for their decision to push Halo Infinite back to where we know now it's going to be coming fall of next year, to like delay that after the backlash. I mean, they had all their marketing material in place. Like the Chief is, front and center on the Series X box right now. We've got all the all the Doritos bags, all the whatever energy drink that they're marketing on, Red Bulls, Mountain Dew. I mean, they had all that ready to go, and that stuff is out there right now. So to say like, okay, we're going to lose out on that marketing cash because this needs to happen, it's like props to them for making that decision. Granted, that's like a do or die for Halo. Like this could, like Halo Infinite has to be like, and I'm saying that again now after you said that we shouldn't say that. But like Halo Infinite needs to be a perfect launch for Microsoft because they need that big W from that franchise, or else, you know, what are they going to do? Yeah. But I just think it's weird that, you know what, like if you are not enjoying Cyberpunk, that is fine. If you are enjoying Cyberpunk, that is also fine. Like everyone is having a lot of different experiences based on how many bugs they're, you know, running into. So it's hard to say like, you know, you should go out and get this game because it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like a crapshoot depending on where you play it, like how many bugs you're going to run into. So, you know, if you are on the fence, I recommend staying on the fence until more patches come out. I think that is the safest thing to do. But you know what? If you want to be in on this conversation of like, hey, this is the thing that I experienced, like you're going to have to buy it. That's the only choice, right? Other than to watch Twitch streams of people playing it on their own. And even then, that's not going to be exactly 1-to-1 of what you would do. But I think there's still a lot more we could say about Cyberpunk, about the dialogue system, about, you know, if your choices really matter, about the AI, about how you can stop traffic in all of Night City by just parking one little car in the middle of the road. You know, there's a lot of those things that we could talk about, but I think, you know, I'll finish the game and then we'll save it for another episode. But we do have a lot of stuff to talk about, and we haven't even gotten into the news yet. So I think we will dive into the news. That's enough talk about that. Sorry, Mike, I took 30 minutes talking about Cyberpunk. I apologize.
Well, hey, man, when you're passionate about something, you could just go off and start talking, you know?
You know who we should bring in? We should bring in Keanu.
All right.
Yes.
I'm going to talk to you about something.
All right, so last week we had the famous Video Game Awards. I have an interesting relationship with award shows. I hate award shows. I think they're kind of useless. It's just a lot of people patting themselves on the back for, hey, look, I did a great job, right? But the Video Game Awards are kind of fun. I think the show back in the day was super cringy. It was really bad when they had like the razor guy that came out. They had a whole suit with the guy with the razor head that came out, and he was like, you know, promoting razors on the show. That stuff was kind of bad. But this year, I think Jeff Keighley is doing a much better job with the show. He's kind of aging it up, making it a little bit more classy, like something that I enjoy watching anyway. Plus, they released a lot of new video game trailers for things that we're excited for. So really quick, I want to go through a couple of things. I want to get your guys' opinions on them. If you have opinions on them, we can talk about it. If not, we can just pass it. Are you guys Smash Brothers fans at all?
Fun.
I played Smash Brothers when I was a kid. Yeah.
All right. So this is super interesting to you guys because Sephiroth is entering the Smash Brothers universe. So Cloud's in there. Sephiroth's in there. He's the big bad from Final Fantasy VII. I think this is interesting because everyone has been like wanting Sora from Kingdom Hearts in this game for the longest time. And every time he is not announced, there's a ton of internet memes about Sora not being on there. And it just makes me laugh that Sora is kind of like the running butt of the joke that he keeps getting the shaft of never being in Super Smash Brothers. So for all you Smash players and all of you people that love One Wing Angel or whatever the name of that song is, Sephiroth is coming to Smash. All right, cool. Perfect Dark. I know you guys are Perfect Dark fans because you played Perfect Dark a long time ago on the Nintendo 64. I am sure of this.
Yep.
You guys never played You guys never played Perfect Dark?
I never had a 64. I never had a 64, so I never played it. Nope. That's the one gen I never played.
Never had a 64.
Yeah, how did you not
have a 64? How do you not have a 64?
I didn't. I went from the Super NES directly to, I think the next thing I got was the OG Xbox.
Wow. Oh, so you jumped GameCube, you did that. Fake in the chat says you never had a 64 either. The 64, like, so you never played Super Mario 64? Not a game that you played?
I played it at my father and mother-in-law's house, but I've never actually had it myself where I could play it.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. Fake in the chat says he never had a 64, probably because he wasn't born yet. Okay, that ages us pretty good.
Thanks a lot, man.
We'll just move on from that one. All right, this is something that I know that Wade wants to talk about. So we got two pretty big announcements from BioWare. I think we were all expecting Dragon Age to be shown in some sort of fashion. So Wade, give me your take on the Dragon Age teaser that we got.
I'm excited. I mean, I want to know more. I never got to play the Trespasser DLC. I've kind of read up a little bit of it on the internet. But after completing Dragon Age Inquisition, great game, great story. I can see why it won Game of the Year. I just can't wait to get back into that world because there's something about that world that's just very interesting, especially because it's, I don't know how to put it other than very classical BioWare storytelling, which is very immersive. It just pulls you in. You have relationships that you build that can change the way the game ends and things like that. And so it's just a very big pull for me as a OG BioWare player to kind of see where this is going, because it looked like it went to Terventer, that's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see like all the mages and things that's going to go on with that. So
I think one of the interesting things, a long time ago, I don't know if, I'm sure people will remember because BioWare fans remember everything. They talked about a lot of the systems that were built for Anthem were going to be used over in Dragon Age. So I wonder if that is still something that they will be doing, and if so, what systems that they built will be coming over. Wade, you have thoughts on this?
You have a thought?
I think this is just the progression I've seen from Dragon Age Origins all the way to Inquisition. I think they've slowly, with the combat, made things more and more fluid. And I think with, like if you played Anthem, the combat was fantastic. The fluidity of the game was great. The movement, it felt great. The engine was very similar to like Andromeda as well, with the way you could just kind of seamlessly move around. We know Dragon Age is played from a third-person perspective as well. So I really think what they're going to do is they're going to try to incorporate a little bit, like build off of the Inquisition combat system and make it a lot more fluid and a little more fast-paced. So some of the more true OG Dragon Age fans may not like that. I think long as if they do it right and they still allow you to like pause combat if you want and really take it over if you really want to micromanage it, that'll be fine. But for people like me that like to Leroy Jenkins stuff and just shoot a bunch of like freaking ice caps at people and fireballs from the sky, it's going to be like amazing because you'll get this fantastic fluid combat and you'll get the great storytelling of BioWare. So that's what I'm thinking is when they mention that.
So this game, I am guessing that Dragon Age we will definitely be seeing before Mass Effect, but if we were to put a date for this Dragon Age, what year are we guessing Dragon Age will show up? Because I'm guessing we'll probably see more teasers every year from here on out. Whether that's something that, they should do or not, we probably will. But, I mean, it is 2020. This is the second time we've had a Dragon Age teaser. So, what would be the prediction for a release year for Dragon Age?
Just with what has been going on and what we've seen with Cyberpunk and just the year that we've had, I'm gonna say that we'll probably see it 22, 23.
So I'm gonna put 23 for Mike. Wade is going into the tank here.
Yeah, 'cause if I remember correctly, back when we were all met at EA Play, I think there was a little teaser with Casey Hudson drinking out of a new Dragon Age mug. So they had been working on it. That's got to be at least 4 years, 3 years that we know for sure that they've been like working on it. Probably longer than that. So I would say probably like a little more. I don't know how to say it. Like a little more encouraging, I guess you could say. Is I think it's going to come out probably December 2021 or spring 2022. Probably spring 2022.
December 21? You are a madman.
I think there's no reason that they would show us that clip unless they have quite a bit of the game already kind of hashed out, at least the foundational things of the game. Because if they did show us this and it's still 3 years off, that was a huge mistake. They should not have shown us anything if it's still 3 years off. Just with the way gaming is nowadays, people are going to be. I mean, people have already been salivating for years on this, and now you show them a teaser with the Dread Wolf, and people losing their crap with their mind. If it's 3 years off, that was a really bad mistake, I think, in their marketing department. If it is,
we did see Anthem in 2017, and then it released in 2019. So. All right.
Maybe so.
I'm not going to guess because I don't. Wade is being encouraging. I do not want to be unencouraging, so I'm not going to guess. All right, so let's move on to Mass Effect. So we got a teaser. Full disclosure: I've only played Mass Effect Andromeda, so I'm going to butcher everyone's names and everyone that has been here. What? I played Andromeda. It's a good game. I tried playing Mass Effect 1. Do you know how hard, Wade, it is to go back and play Mass Effect 1 in 2020? It is very difficult. The controls are not good.
Story mode, man.
Put it on story mode. I should just go to YouTube and be like, play, show me all the cutscenes for Mass Effect.
It's not the same thing.
Well, I mean,
you're like, oh my gosh.
Is story mode the same thing as putting it on normal?
Yeah, I mean, because the combat is pretty hard in one. I give you that. It's super clunky.
It's really
But
bad.
if you put it in story mode, you can basically tank your way through it. So even if you're sucking with the guns and stuff, you can still tank your way through it just for the story, because the choices you makes like a huge difference for Mass Effect 2. Because I'm not afraid to say, when Mass Effect 2 came out and it showed Shepard dying at the very start of the game, I almost cried.
Spoiler alert. There we go. I guess I don't need to play it now. Let's go watch that YouTube video.
If you haven't played it now, what are you doing with your life? Come on now.
So
Steve,
I think
doing with your life.
I've talked to a couple of our community members, and I have agreed to play the game when the box set comes out next year. So I'll give it a go then. I mean, what else am I going to play in 2021? I mean, there's no other games coming out. We were all waiting for Cyberpunk. Everyone delayed all their games because of Cyberpunk, and now everyone's like, well, F, man. All right. So Mass Effect's coming out. We got to see a trailer of people flying through the Milky Way galaxy. There are other galaxies in the background. We've had Liara. She was there and was like holding up this part of the N7 helmet where we think it might be Shepard. It could be somebody else. These are the things that are going on. There's a bunch of people in the background. We think there's, I don't know any of the aliens in Mass Effect. So there's a Gex, there's a Grok, and there's a Mach. They're just hanging out back there. We're going to try and figure out what they're going to do, what this story is going to do. Liara's older. We think that she's in like matriarch mode because that's how far it is into the future of the game. So there's a lot of rumors and speculations how Andromeda is going to tie into this game. They think that the original ending of Mass Effect 3 might be canon based on some of the dialogue. So there's a lot of rumors and speculations going out there. I don't know anything about it, so I'm probably just embarrassed myself on all the things that I said. Wade can make fun of all the things that I got wrong. So Mass Effect, definitely coming after Dragon Age. When will BioWare release Anthem in between those things, or will it be after those things? So I'm not sure. Thaddeus Prime says that was embarrassing. Yes, I agree. But hey, I just got the second game spoiled for me. Okay. All right. So that's Mass Effect. Wade, do you have anything to report on Mass Effect, or are you going to geek out just like you did on Dragon Age?
I just want to say that I think, I don't remember how many podcasts ago it was, but I completely called that this is what's going to happen. I was like, look, they're going to use it as a bridge. They're going to go back and they're going to say, all these years you built up the mass relays, and then somehow they're going to bridge it to where you go to Andromeda, and it's going to be so many years later, Ryder will be old and dead, and all this other stuff will be happening, and you'll get there and you'll have to help with the chaos, But yeah, the fact that I didn't even think about Liara being the bridge, but she makes perfect sense to be the bridge because they can live for hundreds of years, And when they showed the Reaper in the background, I like I knew immediately that had to be a Reaper, and I was just like stoked.
Yeah, I think there was one in the
Just-
background and one frozen in the ice that
Yeah.
they were walking on, right?
Yeah, and it's just Mass Effect has had such a major impact on me as a gamer, that I just can't wait. Like I was excited for Andromeda. I think it got killed by too many internet memes. I thought it was a great game, even with some of the little early bugs. But I'm excited, man. I am like I am beyond excited for this because there's no other world that I've ever played in that felt as compelling, but maybe a Star Wars game as Mass Effect. And I started Mass Effect because it felt like it was going to be Star Wars. It was like space exploration, like this space magic crap, and let's go play it, you know? So
I think one of the interesting things that they could do, and probably will potentially tie this in, because there were supposed to be DLCs after Andromeda, you know, that lost arc that we never got any closure on, and it seems like there was mention of a lost arc in the trailer. So I think they might be able to tie some of that storyline into whatever is going to happen. Hopefully this will also be a game to where like new people can like kind of jump into, right? Maybe something that, hey, you don't need to have all this, you know, backstory built in. Maybe they just give a quick refresher, a quick like, hey, this is what happened in these intervening years. So it's a little bit easier for people to jump into. Because I know like even for me, like sometimes it's really daunting to be like, okay, when do I jump into this game? And that was one of the things that Andromeda was, that's what they marketed it as. Like, hey, jump into Andromeda. You can get in here, get the story. This is something new. So go in and play the game. So hopefully it's something that, you know, probably in 2025 when we get to play the next Mass Effect game. Again, I'm just being really like, if I project it way out there and it comes earlier, then all I can be is like excited and not disappointed. So I'm excited to, and there's a lot of cool write-ups. There's a lot of fans. Shinobi602 on Twitter is pretty I guess, widely followed gaming account, did a pretty cool breakdown of everything. And he speculated about what you said, Mule, like the bridging of the gaps, having, you know, the Milky Way and Andromeda Galaxy came in. I think Mike Gamble responded to him, confirming some of his speculation and like setting him straight that some of that speculation is incorrect. So a lot of cool stuff. I'm super excited for all the BioWare fans that have been waiting for these games. I think it's really easy to be like, oh, these games are never going to come out and look what happened to all this. But you know what? I'm excited when people are excited about something. So, and there's a lot of people excited about these games. So I'm excited for your excitement because we need a little bit more of that in the world. All right. There's a couple other things. I think those were like the really big things for the Game Awards, right? Unless there was something that you guys really wanted to talk about, Master Chief coming to Fortnite and that stuff. Those were like the big announcements I thought were the most important. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about right there?
Other than the MMO they showed off, I can't remember the name of it. The medieval MMO actually looked really cool.
Yeah. So Crimson Desert is the name of that MMO.
Yeah, that's it.
Crimson Desert is made by the same company that made Black Desert Online. So Crimson Desert is actually not an MMO. It's a open world action RPG. From what I read.
Sign me up.
So I think the game looks really cool. Like the first opening shots that they showed of that game looked photorealistic, just of the forest, of the rivers, of the streams. Yeah. It looks super impressive. Sorry, I got to write this timeline down. Mike, did you get a chance to check out Crimson Desert?
I did not get a chance to look at that. My energies were spent elsewhere getting ready for stuff to talk about, so I did not look at Crimson Desert.
Well, I'll tell you how cool it looks, because this looks... I definitely got Assassin's Creed vibes from it. Wade, I mean, you've been playing a lot of Valhalla recently, so I'm sure you've got, you know, just the way that they moved weapons and stuff. But what impressed me a lot was the particle effects on screen. Like people calling down lightning, enemies exploding. The world seemed really lived in. And now, like, I hate that my mind goes there, that it's like, yeah, but this was a trailer, and let's wait till the game really comes out to see what it's like, just because after everything that's happened, my brain is like saying, yeah, don't believe all the hype, right? But it looked really cool. It looked really interesting. And this is something that, I know a lot of people play Black Desert Online and they really enjoy it. So, and this is something to look forward to. Definitely something that it's like, hey, I will definitely play that when it comes out. I'm excited for it. So that is Crimson Desert, and that's the first gameplay trailer. The other couple things that I was really excited about, I don't know if you guys are big Warhammer fans, but they showed Warhammer 40K Darktide gameplay, which I thought looks really cool. I love the Warhammer universe. It is bloody, it is gory, it's full of skulls and spikes, and what else do you need in a game like that? You just need enemies to explode, you need skulls, you need weapons, and you need friends to do it in. So I am really excited about Warhammer. Yeah, I guess friends are kind of important. So
friends to do it with. That's cool.
And I'll just really quick run down the last list of things I thought were interesting. Vin Diesel is a producer for a video game now for Arc 2, which is something that is very, very interesting.
Do you think it's the Vin Diesel? I mean, Vin Diesel is a pretty popular name.
It is a pretty popular name, so it could be like just some other Vin Diesel that looks like the same Vin Diesel that starred in the movie The Tooth Fairy. So it could. No, he wasn't in Tooth Fairy. That was The Rock.
Think it was Tooth Fairy. That was.
What's the hockey one that he was in?
Hockey Mom.
Hockey Mom. It could have been. No, he was in those babysitter movies. I think that's what Vin Diesel.
Babysitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, I've followed closely Vin Diesel's career. So he was Groot. So probably his best acting role that we've had from him from a really long time was Groot and the Iron Giant.
I was gonna say I think his most iconic. Well, I guess now his most iconic is Groot. He was the Iron Giant. So
I don't think he's that iconic as Groot, though. I think people will recognize him more from Iron Giant or Fast and the Furious than they do Groot.
I'm pretty sure they'll recognize him from Fast and the Furious. I think it's a very small population that know him.
Not Riddick.
Yeah, that's the other one he was in too. Huh?
I really liked the Riddick movies a lot. I wish that they did more of them because I thought they were pretty cool. Yeah. All right. So that's really been a lot of the video game stuff that we wanted to discuss. Other than that, Mike and I did some predictions for the VGAs. I told Mike wrong that he won this, but I picked 10 of the winners and Mike predicted 8 of the winners. So congratulations to me. I did not.
Cheating.
I'll run this down really quick. So I picked Game of the Year. I'm going to because I won. No, I'm going because I won. I picked Game of the Year for The Last of Us. Mike picked Hades. I wish it was Hades, but it was The Last of Us. Congratulations to them. Last of Us won a lot of the stuff that they were nominated for. And, a couple of the cool things that did win awards, like No Man's Sky won for Best Ongoing Game. I think that's pretty cool for that team who has been through the ringer. They have stuck to that game, creating content for it, trying to build back that goodwill, and to my knowledge, not asking for a single dollar from all of their players. And you know what? Congratulations to the team from No Man's Sky because they killed it. And Hades won Best Indie, and that's all we really care about. All right, moving on. And for the reason that we really brought Wade onto the show, Wade, we hear you're a Star Wars fan.
Maybe just a little.
Turns out, at the same time as the Video Game Awards, Disney was telling us how they plan on taking over the world with content, particularly Star Wars content. And
they were having.
What do you mean taking over? That's already happened.
Yeah,
it's like the evil empire already.
Yeah, it unfortunately is, right?
It really is the most cyberpunk thing that has happened this year. Is that Star Wars? Pretty soon we will be paying all of our corporate dues to the Disney Corporation. So that's something that will definitely happen. Yeah, if you're not.
I was doing the math on subs because they revealed how many subs they have. They've made over $10 billion in just subs.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, how do you make that much money with just subs?
It's all, I think it's all mine.
When you say it that way, when you say it like they have that much money, it kind of makes me sad that they are not like spending more money in the video game space and like putting that money to good use. Like, I know that for the longest time they had a lot of they had their own studios and they just weren't producing great games. But now it's like they've seen, that EA has been handling their license. We got Jedi Fallen Order, which is a great game. It's also a game that I didn't give like as much credit as I should have in the beginning. Now that I think back on all these other games that are released, I'm like, you know what? That was actually a pretty good game considering everything that we played. I mean, Cal Kestis is pretty milquetoast, but that was a fun game. They should be spending more money on video games. That's all I'm saying, because they have a lot of things that they could be making money on. All right, wait.
I unfortunately think that they are spending all their money on new lands in their theme parks that are open.
They have theme parks that are open?
Yeah,
Right.
let that sink in.
So I want to run this down. Wade, what the crap is Star Wars Ahsoka going to be about?
My best guess is that so Dave Filoni loves Ahsoka, and as you guys know, he did Clone Wars and Rebels. He worked really closely with Lucas on all of that, and I really think that it's going to be almost like a new, like a Luke Skywalker type theme, where she's going to be going around the galaxy, kind of discovering things in the Force. I think mostly it's going to be centered around finding Ezra and fighting Thrawn that we see from Rebels, because at the end of Rebels, spoiler for anyone that hasn't seen the end, Ezra and Thrawn basically get hyper spaced out into the unknown regions by some space whales, is to put it very simple. And so no one knows where they are. Sabine and Ahsoka kind of just guarded Lothal. So Ahsoka was kind of out and about, but Sabine guarded Lothal. She thought that's what Ezra wanted him to do. But then she realized maybe there was something more to that. And then Ahsoka shows up and they're going to find Ezra. So I think that'll probably center around that, because as we saw in The Mandalorian, she's already asking, where is Thrawn? So I think there might be, and then Filoni, just to kind of back up a little bit, Filoni did say that the ending of Rebels, that might not be the end of right before New Hope and Rogue One and all that. It actually might be set further in the future, around the time of The Mandalorian. So, because she's all dressed in white, kind of like Gandalf the White, kind of a deal. That's my best guess, is what I think what Ahsoka is going to be about. Maybe the world between worlds that we see in Rebels as well, because of the emblem on her name has a circle very similar to what you see with the father, son, and daughter. Now I'm deep diving for you guys. If you don't know, just stop me.
Well, it's also also similar to the Jedi Fallen Order symbol, correct?
Yes, because Cal Kestis does this weird world between world things when he goes into meditation. So there's a connection there. And the Emperor really wanted that. He wanted that because it was very, very important to him to be able to see the future and affect the past and affect the future,
So Rosario Dawson will be reprising her role as Ahsoka. Mike, do you think we're getting way too much Star Wars content? I remember back in the day when it seemed like we were getting a Star Wars movie every year, and everyone was like, whoa, this is too much. Like, it's not going down the path we wanted. And now it seems like Disney's like, F it. Star Wars for forever.
So I definitely don't remember a time where it was a Disney or it was a Star Wars movie every year, right? Because by the time we came around, the first trilogy was already out.
Well, I'm talking after third trilogy.
After the third trilogy, yeah, there was a time there where, and again, I think this all has to do with the money machine that they needed, right, to fund these big expansions in their parks, right? And so we did get those movies every year that we really didn't need. Like, they were the movies that nobody needed. What's the? I'm trying to do the Batman quote. It's the movie we got, not the movie we needed, right? Because who needed a Solo movie? I didn't. Like, I had never asked for that.
Solo was great. Yeah. Anyways.
The screen's not frozen. I'm just in bewilderment. I mean, you saw it, right? You saw the Solo movie.
It was great.
Yeah. Anyway.
So
yeah. So I am okay with all of the Star Wars stuff coming out. I am not I couldn't quote this deep canon to you, but I have a basic understanding of who it is. Like, I know I know about midichlorians, and I know that a parsec isn't a measure of time, right? It's a measure of distance. So like I know that part of it. I don't mind the Star Wars universe. I think it's pretty cool. I'm glad that it's not. I'm glad that we're branching out and getting other stories, not just centered around like Empire centric or even Jedi centric. Right? They're kind of the outskirts of the Mandalorian right now. I don't know what that's going to mean moving forward. I don't know how I'm going to feel about everything that's coming out because holy crazy Jedi's, Batman, there are a lot of things like coming that we can expect, right? And all these tie-ins. I do worry about and I've stated this sentiment before on the show, is that not everything has to connect to everything. And unfortunately, I think for good or bad, I think everything is going to ultimately end up connecting to everything, which then creates these weird kind of plot armor devices things where this has to connect to this, so this has to happen this way, right? Where if it could be something you have in your head of how something happened, a little backstory that you've created for yourself that you've always thought is true, but now it's different and maybe it doesn't work the way. Like I always thought that Solo was just his name, not something that somebody came up with because he showed up at a desk by himself. So
Spanish confirmed in Star Wars.
Yeah, I worry about stuff like that because I think maybe too much is bad also, right? We talk about, striking a good balance. I'm excited. This probably opens the door to see Ezra on a live screen, right? So that'll be fun. I've watched Rebels with the boys, and I don't think I'm caught up on the last season. But I'm definitely going to go back and finish it. The boys have definitely finished it.
My oldest hit episode 10 of chapter. Just wait, episode 10 is going to get you. Come back to me.
All right,
watch that.
It's the space.
I will start it. I will actually start it tonight after the show. I'll start the season where I left off. But the boys are watching Clone Wars right now, and they know all this stuff, so I get to see it in little bits of passing and stuff. I'm excited for it. It's huge and big and a vast world. Some might even say galaxy. So it's cool, and I'm excited for it. I just, again, I think with the way that we've been treated in the past with stuff, and the way that things have been going, 2020, that I'm just taking everything with just a grain of salt, and I'm trying not to get too hyped up for stuff, because then that's just a huge letdown, right? So.
Low expectations and be surprised.
I hope
it's fine. No, I totally understood that halfway through there. You're just like, I have no idea what he asked me. So let's just keep going with this. All right. Star Wars Rangers. This is actually something that I am super interested about because we don't know much about it. And maybe Wade will be able to tell us exactly where we're going with Star Wars Rangers. But to me, I don't know if this is the Texas Rangers of the Star Wars universe, but I'll tell you what I want it to be. I want it to be those X-Wing pilots in the Mandalorian flying around and just doing their job as the police force for the New Republic. I want them to be like
Rogue Squadron.
No, I don't want it to be Rogue Squadron yet. Because Rogue Squadron is something I'm super stoked for. I do have questions of like when it's going to be, and we talk about Wedge Antilles and Luke starting Rogue Squadron, and those old Legend books now, because that was something that I was super into. I love the Rogue Squadron books. The game is something that is like imprinted into my mind. Like Nate John says in the chat, it's like, I think Rangers is going to have Cara Dune in it. And
yep.
I really just want it to have, the guy from Kim's Convenience, like the big guys like that came and saved Mando at the end when he fell into the ice thing. I just want a story about like cops doing their jobs in space, flying around in X-Wings, tracking people down, like just doing odd jobs, I want something that's just like more grounded in like the day-to-day minutia. And maybe I don't want it to be like the Law and Order SUV of SUV.
Yeah,
SUV something.
The Law and Order SUV. We definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
But it makes sense that you totally could. I was watching. It must have been Honest Trailers. They were doing their Honest trailer for Mando, and one of their jokes was, it seems like that everybody just uses a bounty / cantina system for their economy in the Star Wars world. Like no one's ever a real estate agent, so you have to think, well, that has to exist, doesn't it?
Someone's got to sell
Right?
those planets.
Exactly. So, but then does it just turn into something, just cheesy and campy, Orville-esque or
I like the Orville. I think
and that's not bad. It just definitely puts a different feel on everything, right? It just makes it feel different because you're like, oh, really? You're a restaurateur in Star Wars,
and we balk at that, but if they had a Office spinoff like on the Death Star, like a bunch of like Imperial officers on the Death Star, like an Office style situation, I think that'd be funny. I
don't think
no, you definitely could. I think the cool thing about all these, like especially Rangers, because we don't know anything about it, it doesn't have to be like all the other shows are like Lando, Kenobi, Andor. We kind of know that. But like Rangers could just be something completely different. I think that's why The Mandalorian was so good, because it was something brand new, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is another option.
It harkens back to the original feel of New Hope, which used to just be called Star Wars before it became known as New Hope. But it's a space western,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's kind of the vibe that they're going for. Is that now that you have a pretty solid character in Cara Dune, they're going to kind of focus more on that aspect of kind of the Wild West, I guess you could, of the Outer Rim and some of the unknown territories. So I think it's going to probably involve that. They're probably going to throw in a little bit of stuff of how the First Order kind of starts to rise to power, because as much as people think that the First Order appeared out of nowhere, it really didn't. There's hints of it everywhere. I mean, even in the last Mandalorian episode where he talks about people just really want order, like they're hinting at First Order. So it didn't just like disappear at anywhere. So I think this is going to be kind of like space sheriffs, kind of cops in outer space, kind of a deal.
Well, and I really liked Timothy. I think the actor was Timothy Oliphant. I really liked his character, and so it'd be cool to see him come back, right? But you're absolutely right. They've created this great kind of. I mean, this could just be the next spaghetti western, right? Tombstone, maybe not Tombstone-esque, but and hopefully not Gunsmoke-esque either. But but just and it's good, and I like the simplicity of it, right? So far, it isn't too deep and things aren't connecting to everything where you kind of have to know all of this backstory. But I really like how Mandalorian is turning out right now, and I'm excited for the new shows. I hopefully they all work. Law of Averages says that one of them is not going to, right? You can't hit them all out of the park. So
I think the thing that kind of going back to like, is there such a thing as too much Star Wars? I think people may have got tired of it because the one downfall I'll say, because I'm not trying to crap on the new trilogy, but I will say that the character development was just not as good as some of us older Star Wars fans remember from the trilogy. And that, you have the hero journey where Luke comes in and he's swept up in this big story. Holy crap. Oh, I failed. I got to learn. I failed. I got to learn. I failed. I learned. Like it didn't feel like you really had that much. You kind of came at the end of these people's story and you're just expected to, Rey's super powerful because she was Palpatine's daughter or granddaughter.
Yeah, she's powerful.
And that's what she is. So you don't get to see that much of a struggle. And struggle in film is what really makes us attached to characters. Mm-hmm. And I think what's going to help with this new era of Star Wars is that you have Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and all the other directors that he kind of has circled around him from The Mandalorian. And Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, like Dave Filoni is basically George Lucas 2.0. The guy has spent so much time with George Lucas. He respects the fandom. He respects the lore. He respects Star Wars. And Jon Favreau knows how to do a movie. He knows how to write a great script.
Yeah, he does.
And I think if Kathleen Kennedy will allow them to kind of take their hands on the wheel and control Star Wars, I think things will go great. I think that you'll probably have a few stories in there that are more geared toward a younger crowd, which is fine. Because Star Wars, basically there's an era in Star Wars for every generation, if you think about it. But I think that's the key thing. I think if you have John and Dave and the other directors like Deborah Chow, that's doing the Obi-Wan series, if you have them involved in Star Wars in any way, we're going to be in good hands.
Yeah.
And the thing about Star Wars too is that it's such a huge universe. They actually have a whole team dedicated to anytime there's a book, anytime there's a game, that they have to make sure it fits the lore, because you don't want to have something like, wait, like how does that even work since this happened? Now, what the heck about Luke then? Like that doesn't make sense, you know? Like is Luke the chosen one now? Or like you don't want to have any like
Continuity
that's the thing
errors.
that's that's the one bad side about having a huge universe. You got to be able to keep it all concise, you know?
Right.
So
Or you'll have what happened in Legends, which it was just kind of all over the place, everywhere.
Right.
You know, you have Palpatine basically manipulating space and having force storms that can destroy planets. You know,
Chewbacca dies. That was sad.
Well, then you have to do the old time travel thing, right? You get too convoluted, so you're like, oh, we gotta go back and push reset, so we're all gonna fly through this black hole, and pop out the other side where Spock is waiting for us to inject the red matter.
Right. But speaking of flying through space, Mike, you know what? Rogue Squadron is probably going to be the coolest thing ever, because we finally get to shine a light on the coolest part of the Star Wars universe, which is the ships. And of course, everyone has their favorite ship. Wade, your favorite Star Wars ship is?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to say the Falcon or Luke's X-wing. That's got to be it. The Falcon is just too iconic for me.
Yeah,
but it's not in Rogue Squadron. So without, yeah.
Mike, your favorite Star Wars ship?
My favorite Star Wars ship. I think when I was a kid, it was the A-wing, because it was different from what like the rest of us would pick. With 5 of us, and like we each wanted to be our own kind of thing, right? I never got to be the X-wing because I had other brothers who
we just became the X-wing. We personified the X-wing. I'm the X-wing now.
Right. So maybe the A-wing. I haven't come across any ship in the new Star Wars that I am like, oh yeah, that's the one, because I can't think of any in the new trilogy that have been, because it's either the X-wing or the Millennium Falcon, right? They didn't introduce a new ship.
Can we count animated series?
Yeah, you can.
So I was
count any
one
of
the animated, like the Ghost, right? Ghost from Rebels. That's at least new. What was the game, Steve? Dash Rendar's ship.
Yeah, he had the Outrider.
The Outrider, that had a cool looking design, right? So that was kind of a neat ship, but I think I like the fighters. The fighters better. So
well, I mean that's part of the ship. That's part of the ship. So Nate says, Nate in the chat says Kylo had a few new ships. He did have the TIE Silencer.
Oh, he did.
Ebon Hawk, I believe, was the ship for Luke from
that's Legends.
From the Legends. Mara Jade's ship, right? The Ebon Hawk. I really like the new T-70s. The new T-70s are actually a really, really cool design on the old T-65s, which I think are really cool. But the TIE Interceptor is the coolest ship in all of Star Wars, so we need more of that. Oh, the Ebon Hawk from KOTOR. What was the name of Mara Jade's ship from Legends? I'm not sure. I'll have to go remember that later. So we are getting a Rogue Squadron movie. This was the director, the lady that is Patty Jenkins. She's directing Wonder Woman 1984, which is going to come out next week. Her father was a fighter pilot, so she has a lot of ties and a lot of inspiration she's going to be using from her life to create this movie. This doesn't come out till 2023, but Rogue Squadron was a huge impact on me for video games because it is one of the first computer games I actually had and played in school. After I finished all my work, I would play Rogue Squadron all the time. So I am super excited for that.
Sure.
What? That's what I did. So
after I finished
work.
So a couple of the other things really quick, because there's a ton of Star Wars stuff. There's an Andor series that they're going to be doing. These didn't give like a lot of timelines on when they're going to be coming out. So we're going to get, is Cassian Andor, right? He was the name from the dude from Rogue Squadron, or not Rogue Squadron, Rogue One. The only thing that kind of makes me worried is that we know what happens to him, right? And that's kind of always in the back of your mind. You kind of like know the end of the story. That doesn't mean it'll make the story bad. It's just one of those things that'll always be in the back of my mind, knowing. And that was very similar to what Rogue One was. We kind of knew how that story was going to end. So it kind of takes a little bit of that, away, but I'm sure they will do a fantastic job. The Obi-Wan movie, we also know how that ends, but I'm also excited for that because we are getting the man, the myth, the legend back to be acting in that, which is, I think, is everyone's dream for the longest time, to have Ewan McGregor back in that role, and just be like, you know what? Even though we had McGregor, what is his name?
Sir Alec Baldwin.
Not Alec Baldwin. I thank you that
Alec
Baldwin.
Guinness.
Alec Guinness.
Yeah,
Alec Guinness.
I'm so glad a Baldwin has not been in the Star Wars universe at all. So even though he was the original, for me, Ewan McGregor personified that role. Then we're gonna have a Lando series. Hopefully we'll get.
Wait, we're gonna have Hayden Christensen too for Darth Vader. That's
true.
huge.
So there's been a lot of speculation on how we're going to see him, because at this point of the Obi-Wan series, we have Darth Vader in the mask and the suit. I would have to imagine that we're going to get James Earl Jones somehow to be in that series as well. Maybe we just get Hayden as a force projection of what Anakin looked like talking with Obi-Wan.
Or mask off.
Or the mask off, which is very possible. It'd be weird just because the only time we've ever seen Vader with his mask off was, when he was dying or when he was in that weird old back-to-tank thing. So there are a lot of ways. And I'm actually glad that Hayden gets to come back to this series and be like, because I think he gets a lot of flack for what he did.
You think he is? You think he's glad? Come back?
I think everyone with the SAG card is excited to come to the Star Wars franchise right now because they are killing it. So
now's the perfect time. Yeah.
Natalie coming back?
No, she's dead, Mike. She was so sad she died. So
I mean, they'd probably do a prequel of her prequel.
They probably could do that.
There's some people that think Palpatine actually drained her life essence. So there's that.
There is
she
that.
Didn't actually die being sad.
Okay.
So.
I'm going to stick with the sad version, that she died because she was sad. Then we're going to get Lando. Then we're going to get the Acolyte. I don't know what this is, Wade. So you're going to have to school me up on what it could even possibly be. What is the Acolyte?
Yeah, from my understanding, it's set sometime around the new stuff that's coming out for the High Republic, and it's going to focus on dark side users. I think it's also going to be a female centric cast, so I'm not quite sure. But it's supposed to be about dark side users, so it could really dive into some kind of crazy sci-fi magic-y force stuff, like Sith alchemy and things like that. So we'll see.
And this will also be at the time where there's, the original trilogy is really dark and dusty and everything's dirty. This would be going back to the time where everything is new, shiny, and chrome. So that'll be interesting to see that from that perspective. Yep. And the one thing that I am also excited for is the Star Wars Visions anime anthology. Anime is the perfect way to express things combat, space combat. We have it all from all of these Gundam shows that we watch, all these Macross, and just awesome things happening in space, from lightsaber battles to Jedi magic, being able to animate people flipping around, jumping around, doing all this stuff. I am super stoked for this. I really, really want to know who is doing what animation studios there are. If Studio Trigger gets their hands on one, I'm super stoked for that. That's going to be pretty awesome. Axionis, thanks for the raid. Nate in the chat says, don't forget about Taika Waititi's movie. That's coming at some point. Yeah, we still don't know much about that. But he, you know what? If he could direct all the things, then direct all the things. Because I know he's done a couple of the episodes. So, yeah. I think I'm excited for this slate of Star Wars. And sometimes you see the tidal wave of Star Wars content coming out, and you're like, holy crap, how can they do this? We've seen what they've done with the Marvel Universe. We've seen that, all those movies were great. Some of them weren't the best, but all those movies were good. If they have someone at the helm, directing this giant boat, we can have some super awesome Star Wars content coming out in the future. And you know what? Even if not all this stuff is for you, there's something in here for you, right? There's the droid story that's going to be following C-3PO and R2-D2 that I'm sure a lot of the kids are going to love, and that's awesome for them. Like, just because you're not excited, like I'm not excited for the Andor series, that's fine. I'll still watch it, and I'll probably still have fun watching it. I'm just glad that there's all this content for people to consume, because you know what? The worst thing they could do is not make any of it, right? And then we don't get any of it. So, you know, if they want to keep making shows, like, we'll watch the shows that we really like, and if you don't like one that much, then you don't have to watch it, and you can just let people enjoy things. So I think that is the lesson of the show. Just let people enjoy things, and if they don't, you don't have to call for their death. So that's what I'm going to say on Star Wars. Mike, you look super confused. Are you like reading like Star Wars Legends right now?
He's all in now.
No, man, I'm looking at everything, the list of everything coming out, and this should have happened. This should have happened this time last year, right? To get ready, because we were all going to be home, and we all could have consumed all this content. So
I mean, some of this stuff did get pushed, so I'm sure they were just like, maybe we can wait for those subs to go up just a little bit more before we release the content.
When everybody's free year of Verizon expired, they're like, all right, now let's get our subs up, right? And so I mean, it's really cool what's coming out, but then part of me also kind of is a little bit cynical. That's like, all right, so I'm buying all this stuff, right? You know, and I'm buying this service, and I'm just feeding this machine, and you know, so there's a little bit of that, and I'm like, do I really want to do all this? And then I see what's all coming out, because we just went over the Star Wars stuff. Now we didn't even talk about the Marvel stuff that's coming out, and even just the Disney stuff coming out, and then the Nat Geo stuff coming out, and the Pixar stuff coming out, right? And like, man,
there's a metric F-ton of content.
There's tons of stuff coming out, which is cool. But then, like I said, the cynic in me is like, well, do I really just want to, you know, should I just have my paycheck go to them now, or like how do I make this easier on myself? So
just sign it over, man. Sign it over.
Exactly. Do I just sign it over? You know, and a majority of it's going to be good. Some of it's not going to not be, and we have to take that, right? You have to know that that's just how it is. But I'm excited for it. There's just so much coming out. I'm getting a little bit of anxiety right now, just kind of looking at all the stuff I have.
You'll be okay, Mike. We'll give Wade the last word on all the Star Wars content before we sign off, because I think there's too much to talk about all the Marvel stuff. We'll have to save that for later. So, Wade, the last word is yours.
Well, I'll say this too, for us that play video games, Matt Martin, who's wrote a lot of Star Wars books, works with Disney, tweeted that after all these announcements, they still haven't even covered a fraction of the overall Star Wars storytelling and video games, plural. Which is going to be freaking awesome, because I love Fallen Order. I love Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I think we do need more Star Wars games. Give us an open world multiplayer RPG, something like that. You know, I would love it.
If there is not a Mandalorian game currently in development by someone at EA, then someone is not doing their job correctly, right?
Someone's getting
fighting the Mandalorian Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's got to be something going on for there. But yeah, I'm excited for whatever they come up with the next Fallen Order game, because I was excited about that. So lots of cool content for a lot of people, so there's no point in like being angry and upset about things unless you spent $60 and you want your money back. Then go get your refunds if you're not happy with Cyberpunk. But if you're happy with Cyberpunk, then you know, send in those funny screenshots of when cars just like fall from the sky, because that's good stuff. All right, everyone, this has been episode 152 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. We would like to thank Wade from Mulehorn Gaming for being here. Wade, can you plug all of your stuff so all the people know where to find you and your content?
Yeah, most of it you can just find right on our website, mulehorngaming.com. But if you're interested in like Star Wars lore, TikTok is where you can find us for Star Wars stuff. And kind of a little teaser, Nate Johns and I are going to be starting a new podcast centered around Star Wars. So
very cool.
Yeah. All right. My question when I call in, I will say, hi, this is a first-time caller, long-time listener. Can you pick a better ship as your favorite ship instead of the Millennium Falcon?
The ghosts. There you go.
The ghost is very square. You know, it's just like a diamond turned on the side. Like those are your like. What is it about the Millennium Falcon, Wade? Is it just because it's so iconic? Because that's like Star Wars.
Because I love Han Solo. Han Solo was like just awesome. I love the guy, and you know, it was basically his ship he won from Lando, and it just had so many memories for me because I watched New Hope like on repeat on a huge RCA laser disc when I was a kid, over and over and over, and so it's just memories, man, nostalgia for me.
Very cool. All right, everyone,
cool.
Thank you for hanging out with us. We will catch you later. I'm going to push a couple buttons here.
Pay me my money. In cash.
Thank you for listening to the Freelancer Codex, a podcast brought to you by the Shut Up and Respawn Network. Follow us at Freelancer Codex on Twitter or Twitch. Send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com or voice messages to anchor.fm/freelancercodex/message. We wish to thank all of our Patreons. We are grateful for you all.